Hello friends, my name is Michelle Fondin and I'm an author and speaker. And welcome back to our relationship series. Today we're going to talk about the 4 stages of relationship in regards to this book, Getting the Love You Want by Dr. Harville Hendrix and his wife Helen Hunt. And we're back to this relationship series on Imago therapy, which was created by Dr. Harville Hendrix. And today we're going to talk about a really interesting concept to continue along this spectrum. If you haven't watched the other videos on relationships, go ahead and see the other few videos and I'll have the links below. But we're going to talk about the 4 stages of relationship because this is super important to understand. If you're having a lot of struggles in your personal relationship, we are just talking about romantic relationships in this series in particular because Imago therapy works uniquely with romantic type relationships. And that's what I'm referring to because that's where a lot of pain is for most people. You know, with divorce rates being 50% at least, with people opting to not get married anymore, with second marriages failing at an 80% rate, I think we all need a lot of relationship healing, and I am speaking to myself. So the whole reason why I started this relationship series was because I was ailing in my romantic relationships, and I was wondering why. Why is it that I kept picking people who resembled one another, who had similar problems as one another, and it was a therapist that recommended this book, Getting the Love You Want, to my boyfriend and I. And right now we're in a healthy separation, meaning that we are both working on our stuff. And it was through that discovery that I picked up this book and I started reading it and I really got inspired. I was looking at the 4 stages of love relationships and Getting the Love You Want, and doing my research for this video, I actually found it in another one of their books called Receiving Love. Okay, so if you're looking for the reference in the 4 stages of relationships, you can find it in that book, in Receiving Love. So we're going to look at the first stage. The first stage is attraction, and we all know what the attraction is. It's like, oh my gosh, this person is so delicious, and I just want to hug them and kiss them, and they're so beautiful and wonderful and magical, and it's like, oh. And we think about them all the time. It's those initial stages, whether you meet them online or whether you meet them in person or whether you've seen them or whether they're at the office and you're just like, oh, I really want to date this person. It's that moment of attraction. It's that moment of just like, whoa, I really want to get to know this person better. And we all know what this is. What Dr. Hendrix says is that we are extremely selective in who we select to be a romantic partner. It's interesting because he said if everyone could do the job, then we would date a whole lot more people than we actually do date. Now, in dating, I'm talking about forming an actual relationship. I'm not talking about casual 1 date to 2 dates. I'm talking more about a commitment that lasts 6 months or more. It's once you get over those first few dates where you really realize, hey, this is a person I really want to be with. But he said even in the attraction phase, we're only attracted to a very particular amount of people. It's a really small percentage because he said, think about the thousands and thousands of people that you've known throughout your life. There's only a really small percentage of people out of those thousands of people that you've actually been attracted to. And he goes on to explain this a little bit better, but just think about that in your own life. Who are the people that you've been really attracted to? It's probably just been a handful in your entire life. Now, we're not talking about some dysfunction in attraction and romance, like such as you hear about guys that have been with like 5,000 women or something like that. That's a little bit more of a pathology. That's really an addiction. It's not romantic love. So we're looking at the first stage is attraction. Then the next stage after attraction is romantic love. And when we speak about stage 2 or romantic love, he says that can last anywhere from 0 to 3 years. So that romantic love is when everything is flowery and peachy. It's also been referred to as the honeymoon phase. It's really when you have blinders on, like you're completely blind. It's like Love is Blind. And all you see are the great aspects of this person. You're just so in love and you want to spend every minute together and you just want to listen to them and you talk till all hours in the morning and you want to hug and kiss them and make love to them, and it's just like, oh, this person can do no wrong. And you don't even hear the wrongs that that person does and says. And it's really strange. One time I was watching Oprah Winfrey, and I don't know who she was. She was talking to Maya Angelou. And one of the things that they were talking about were romantic relationships and love relationships. And she said, a lot of women especially get embroiled in these relationships which are totally dysfunctional and are really destructive, and they tend to date similar men. Now, Dr. Hendricks has another explanation for this, but it was interesting what she said. This nugget of information was super interesting. What she said is that if you listen carefully in those first few dates with a romantic partner, if you really listen carefully, they will reveal to you who they are. Now, what she meant was they will reveal to you who they are in the positive and especially in the negative. And they will reveal it 100% of the time, but you need to be listening. And I thought, wow, that is some amazing advice to give. Now, what's interesting is that I really tried to follow that after I heard it. Now, after I heard it, it was after I had been in my second major relationship that ultimately failed because there were some major flaws that I had totally overlooked for a long time. But what's really interesting is that when I thought back, because I didn't think of this quote from Oprah Winfrey until, the past year or so, I rethought about it. And what I realized is that the person that I'm in a relationship with, that we're trying to heal this relationship, he actually did reveal himself to me in, I think, the first or second date. It was really early. I don't know what we were talking about. I don't know what brought this up, but he looked at me and said, "I'm not a good person." And I was like, why would you say that? Like, immediately you try to defend that person, even though you don't know the person. You just met them. It's just the second date. And he did. He revealed himself to me. And it was so weird because I didn't know what it meant at the time. I know what it means now. But it's not that he's not a good person. He's a person with an addiction. And I talk about that in many of my other videos. But it was really interesting because Oprah Winfrey was right. People do reveal themselves to you in good and in bad in those first few dates, and you just have to listen. But in stage 2, the romantic phase, we often don't listen. And romance is like a transcendent state. It actually is a transcendent state where time stands still or time flies, or you feel like you're in this spiritual state with this other person. And you are in this spiritual state with this other person. You almost have to be. You have to have a healthy dose of denial to actually fall in love with another person. You have to. Because that person has a lot of flaws and you have a lot of flaws. And if you can't overlook each other's flaws in those initial stages, you would never fall in love. So there is a healthy dose of denial in that romantic relationship stage. That's stage 2. If the relationship makes it through stage 2, you will move on to stage 3, which is called the power struggle. Now, the power struggle is where most couples stop and stagnate. I'm going to say those two words, stop and stagnate. And you will see the power struggle is when you are awakened to your partner's flaws. You're awakened to those, like the blinders are taken off, you're awakened to your partner's flaws, and then you begin the power struggle. And for your partner, it's the same way. The blinders are off of them and they begin to see your flaws. And that's when you begin to see a lot of arguing, a lot of fighting, a lot of differences of opinion. And it's where wounds start to resurface, meaning that what Dr. Hendricks says is that we unconsciously pick a partner who has negative and positive traits of our caretakers in order to heal the wounds of childhood. So by the time we get to the power struggle phase, we're starting to want to heal the wounds of our childhood through this other person. And we begin to see those negative traits from our caretakers in that other person. And that's where the power struggle comes up, because we realize, like, hey, you're not my savior. You're not the person, my knight in shining armor, come to take me away from all my strife. You're just a normal person and you have a lot of flaws. I don't know if I really like you anymore. And this is probably where we see a lot of the divorces happen, because people realize that there's so much strife and struggle that they can't get beyond it. They can't recognize it for what it is. They see that person intimately linked to that set of strife and struggles and wounds, and they don't see them as the person they fell in love with. So that's step 3. Now, if you can get beyond the power struggle, and we're going to talk in later videos on this series how you can get beyond the power struggle, because really that's what this is about. It's about getting beyond the power struggle. I don't have to teach you how to be attracted to someone. I don't have to teach you how to be in love, because you already know how to be in love. You know how to be attracted. What you don't know necessarily, and what I am learning currently, is how to get beyond that power struggle, how to get beyond that area of strife in your life, in your romantic life. But if you can move beyond the power struggle by learning certain tools and tricks to see that person as a really loving person, to see that person as the key person to help you heal your childhood wounds, then you move on to mature love. And mature love is this blissful state. It's a state of really reaching the maturity of love, where you love that person unconditionally, no matter what. You see their flaws and you embrace those flaws. You work with them. You are able to debate them in a very healthy way. You're able to come to compromise and consensus and growth and move out of your selfish space and move into that other person's space, and really seeing them for who they really are, seeing their flaws for what they really are, and not letting them necessarily be attached to the person that you fell in love with. And that is mature love. And that's when you see marriages lasting for 40 or 50 years, and happy marriages at that. We're not talking about roommates, because there are couples that stay together through the strife, through the power struggle, and they become bitter and distanced, and they become friends. They become roommates. They don't become passionate lovers. And I don't know about you, but what I'm personally interested in is getting beyond the power struggle to have love and passion in my relationship, and be totally immersed and totally in love with this person all the time, each day and every day, and have things grow and flourish and loving and just melding together with this other person and making it so magical each and every day. That is my goal. I don't know what your goal is, but that is my goal. I'm not going to settle for being roommates with my love relationship. I'm not going to settle for just being like, oh, this is the way it is. I guess we're just destined to be this way. I don't want that in my romantic relationship. I want things to be dynamic and magical and powerful and loving, and make it just so that we're just there for each other all the time. So those are the 4 stages of relationships. I hope you learned something today. I just do these videos so that you can learn, and that I can learn too, because the more I learn, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the more I learn, because I'm excited to share this with you. So thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Share this video with friends, family, and your dog, and your love partner, of course. And I'll see you in the next video.